Today, I'm going to show you my top 10 flipped items on eBay over the summer, last couple of months. And there's some doozies in there, but we're going to save that till the end. You're going to see a wide variety of items. I'm going to tell you what I paid, what they sold for, and how much my net profit was after fees, shipping, and all of the rest of it. So let's jump right in with item number 10. As you can see on the screen, this item didn't really look like anything when I saw it in the bins. In fact, it looks kind of, a little worn, but it's these barefoot running shoes. I called them minimalist, as you can see in the listing. I paid $4.27, as I already said, at the Goodwill Bins. And you can see in this next clip, sold for $64.99, full asking price. My net profit after shipping and eBay fees, transaction fees, and all of that was $55.92. Nice return. Two more stats about that first item on our countdown. The profit margin, if you do the math, was over 1,300% profit on that item, largely because I bought it at the bins and it was a good high ticket selling price. And it took 92 days to sell. So sat around for a little bit, but I'll take it for that kind of profit. Now, let's continue the countdown. Item number 9 on the countdown is a pair of Ariat paddock boots. So these are black leather boots. I can't remember if I included these when I did a video about cleaning shoes and polishing shoes and purses and things like that. So if I did, I'll put a link up to it here. These boots, let me look at my notes. I paid $1.96 at the Goodwill Bins. They sold, as you can see, full price, no offers or anything, $79.99 for a net profit after shipping fees, etc. of $73.97. Profit margin there, 3,800%. So that's an amazing profit margin. This one took only 6 days to sell. So if you don't know the name brand, I'm sure most of you do, but if you don't know Ariat, keep an eye out for that one, especially when you can acquire it for $2. Okay, moving on. Item number 8. Glow Hill, Canada. So this is a vintage Canadian sort of mid-century brand of servingware. And this was in the original sort of box. It almost looks like a gift box. It's got satin lining and so on, but this would have been probably someone bought as a wedding present for someone or something along those lines. A set of carving knife, fork, a couple knives, and 4 out of 6, 2 missing, steak knives. So you can see the box, and I purchased this. I paid up for it, $9.44. This was at the small thrift store called Cochrane Home Treasures, about a half an hour away from my house in the little town of Cochrane, out towards the Rocky Mountains here in Alberta. And every third Saturday of the month, they have a 50% off everything day. So I visited there several months ago now and bought like $200 worth of stuff. So this got listed when Nathan was here in the summer, and you can see full price, $89.99. So my net profit there was just shy of $78, which is over 800% profit margin. And interestingly enough, this one sold in 0 days. Same day it was listed, it sold for full price. Sometimes you ask yourself, should I have listed it for a little bit more? But you know what? With an over 800% profit margin and $78 in my pocket after everything is considered, I'm happy with that outcome. Happy to get that shipped and out of here as well. Moving on, number 7. This is another Canadian brand. This is Roots, and you've heard me talk about Roots in different videos before. This was a really beautiful leather, pebbled leather, vintage duffel bag, or a weekender, sort of a tote duffel, travel bag. I, again, paid up. I put that in quotes because it's still not a lot of money invested, but I paid $9 for this item. And you can see I sold it for $90. So 10x. That left me a profit after eBay fees, shipping, so on, $75.24. So that's another over 800% profit margin even after fees and such. And that one took 14 days to sell, so only a couple of weeks. Definitely that vintage roots leather, those goods, whether it's handbags, wallets, purses, they seem to be something that people like to snap up. All right, moving right along. Item number 6. Now this is an interesting one. I mean, what have we had so far? We've had sneakers, leather boots, vintage serveware, a black leather duffel bag, and now, ta-da, a calculator case. What? Now, how would a person even recognize this? Well, in my previous professional career, I worked with a lot of actuaries. Fun fact, actuaries love Hewlett-Packard calculators. They're, I'm sure, very expensive to buy, and I don't know, they're definitely a tool of choice for actuaries out there, and probably other people in the mathematics field perhaps. Anyway, because I know how valuable those calculators are, when I was at the bins, again, another little Goodwill Bins story, saw a gray plastic case, and I probably saw HP, which I recognized as Hewlett-Packard. So sure enough, I opened it up, hoping for the calculator. There was no calculator, but this was an original vintage case with, here's the clincher, the user manual for said old vintage calculator. So if you don't know, again, I'm sure many of you do, but if you don't, user manuals or owner's manuals for all kinds of different things, electronics in this case, could be vehicles, whatever it might be, tools, I don't know. They can go for good money, so definitely worth checking. And let's see, what did I pay? $1.73. Hello. Of course, it's the bins, right? That was my average on that particular shopping day. And I sold it for $99.99. Again, full price offer. No low balls, no anything, just pay it. That left me a profit of $85.93, which is almost 5,000% profit. Makes sense, right? $2 into 100. Yes, thank you. And that one sold in 13 days. So just a day shy of 2 weeks again. So again, a very unique item, something that you don't see every day, but very profitable. Okay, let's get into item 5. And you notice the amounts are going up every time. Well, this one is a set of 5 Pier 1 Crackle wine glasses. So these caught my eye, of course. This was in the regular Goodwill store. They have a slanted, if you can see in the picture, slanted rim. Not quite sure how you drink out of this without spilling. Carefully, I guess. But in addition to this crackle glass pattern, they have this angled rim. So kind of a funky, interesting, slanted wine glass. I did pay up, again in quotes, for the 5 wine glasses. I paid $10, so $2 each. And as you can see, full price offer, $109.99. So that's a nice tidy $100 markup, and leaving me profit of $93.58 after fees and shipping. So that is an over 900% profit on that item. Now that one took a little bit longer, 65 days to sell, but still I don't mind holding on to an item for a couple of months if I can generate that kind of profit. Item number 4. This one is something that I bought at a local, right in my neighborhood, community garage sale or yard sale in the summer. I have never found this brand before, so I was very excited to see it, never mind at a yard sale. This is an Arc'teryx backpack. So this was in beautiful condition, no wear, no peeling, not even really any big dirt marks or anything. Checked all the zippers and happily paid $5. You can see I sold it for just a penny shy of $120. All of these items, I need to mention, are plus shipping. So the price that I'm telling you is the sales price on eBay before the buyer pays shipping. Because I never do free shipping. I always have the buyer pay shipping. And so far, that has not slowed me down. So that left me profit on this garage sale find of $90.71. 1,800% profit in that particular case. And this one took 61 days to sell. So again, just around that 2-month mark. Got positive feedback on it, so thrilled with that one. Now let's do item number 3. This is a gem. Again, a departure into a whole other category. So if you haven't watched my videos before, you're probably figuring out from these top 10 lists, I am what we call an everything seller. So I don't focus on any particular niche: clothing, shoes, handbags, sports equipment, electronic, you name it. If it will make a good profit, I'm happy to sell it. So this next one is an electronics item. So we'll put it up here. It is, I'm just going to read it out, a Sony portable mini disc recorder. Saw this thing in, ready for it, the Goodwill Bins. And I'll remind you, if you've watched my Goodwill Bins videos, I'll put the most recent one up here. I don't go for the new bins. Typically, that's way too chaotic for me to handle. All the scrambling when the employee tells you that you can go and start digging. Kind of not into it. It's not really my jam. So remember, all these items that I'm saying I find at the bins are after the bins have been picked over by most everyone else. So this little gem, this Sony portable mini disc recorder, I paid, are you ready for this? 91 cents. And drum roll please, sold it for $145. So of course that's almost pure profit. After fees, because eBay has to take their cut, I was left with profit of $132.69. So let me just take a little tangent here. This is the thing about the bins and why it's so, well, I guess you could say addictive, but it's so enjoyable is like I bought this one item out of a haul of who knows how many items that particular day. So the average cost of all the items, 91 cents each. This profit on this item of $132.69 paid not only for everything I bought that day, but probably everything I bought in the 1 or 2 shopping times at the bins right around that date as well. So this is the whole thing. You can find one banger item that can pay for everything, meaning when you sell the other items in that particular haul, pure profit. That's the magic of this reselling business, particularly when you have excellent places to source like I am so fortunate to have in the Goodwill Bins. Anyway, I digress. So this Sony portable mini disc recorder was okay, are you ready for it? I gotta look at the number. Almost 15,000% profit, right? $1 into 140 something. You can do the math there. And it sold in 62 days. So sat on it just a little while, and then someone was happy to get that vintage item. Next up, this is item number 2. Again, prices, profit prices, everything's going up here. This one is a Japanese Ikebana vintage style floral arrangement basket. Set of little 3 tall, skinny, as you can see, with a long curved handle baskets. I found these at a little local, it's called Mission Thrift, a little local community thrift store when I was meeting up with some friends for coffee one afternoon. I paid $6.30 and they sold for $80. My profit in this case, for whatever reason, I don't question it, the buyer paid for expedited shipping, like express shipping, and paid a significant amount for that. Now with my discount on shipping labels, my ending profit after shipping and fees and so on ended up being $89.99. If you don't agree with that methodology, you can come for me in the comments. That's okay. We can agree to disagree. Buyer knows the total cost they're paying, and if they're happy to pay that, then good for me that I get a shipping discount, and that factors into all the time and care and materials and everything else that I have to put into shipping my items. That's my view on it. And of course, you are free to have your own opinion on whether I should pass along shipping discounts or consider that as part of my profit. Anyway, these Japanese Ikebana style square baskets took 14 days to sell, and that was a 1,400% profit margin. All right, the next one is actually a bonus one. I couldn't remember if I talked about it before, so we're going to talk about it here. Maybe it's a duplicate, maybe it's not. Couldn't remember. Anyway, it is a black leather minimalist high-end messenger bag / laptop case. So it's sort of convertible. Does not convert to a backpack, but it converts from like a shoulder bag to a messenger style crossbody bag with the different strap placement. So again, I mentioned minimalist when I researched this brand, which I had never heard of before until I saw this item in the thrift store. I could just see and feel that it was high quality, and they sell for hundreds of dollars, brand new. This one was in brand new, pristine condition, and you can see I took an offer. I think I had it listed for $250. So I took an offer for $212.49. Happily took an offer. Now this one was a little bit interesting. The buyer was in Japan. I don't normally ship outside of Canada or the US. And let me be clear, for certain, for a $10, $20, $30, $40 item, I'm not going to ship outside of Canada and the US and get into the whole international until eBay comes through with the international shipping program for Canadian sellers. Then I will reevaluate that. Anyway, buyer messaged me and said, could I ship to Japan? This is before they purchased, of course. So I thought, why, yes, please, for $212.49 item. Yes, I think I can figure out how to ship to Japan. So long story short, I paid in the Goodwill thrift store, the retail store, $18 for this item, figured out the shipping to Japan, and after all was said and done, made a profit of $192.13. So that is over 1,000% profit. And here's the thing, it took longer to sell. It took 113 days. So what's that, 3.5 months or so? But again, high ticket item, pretty easy to store actually. Happy to sit on it when I can make 1,000% profit, AKA $192. So now we get to the really big one. That was not the big one. The big one that I teased at the beginning of this video is item number 1. Before we put the picture up and tell you what it is, let me tell you the situation. So Nathan is listing here in the summer, and I was downstairs, I think shipping out some items or getting something ready like that. And he says to me, how much do you want to sell this belt for? He's kind of, we're talking from upstairs to downstairs, his desk to my desk downstairs. And I'm like, why? Normally he's great. He looks up the comps. He, kind of picks a number somewhere in the middle, not the highest, not the lowest, but, somewhere reasonable, and puts it in the draft listing. And then I review, and I have a gut for these things anyway. So I'm like, why is he asking that? I'm like, why? Why are you asking? He said, well, I'm seeing some that are sold for like possibly $400 or $500. I'm like, that got my attention. I'm like, for a belt? What? So of course I have to come upstairs and see, what are we talking about here? Well, was this a special find or what? I did not, I'll be honest, I did not even know what I had, okay? And while we're being fully transparent here, I will fess up, this item sat in my death pile for over a year. So did I know I was sitting on this gem? No, I did not. Anyway, without any further ado, let's put it up on the screen, and I'll read to you how I labeled this item on my eBay listing. It is a vintage sterling silver turquoise Native American leather concho belt. So I was not familiar with the term concho. I certainly am now. But as you can see from the photo, it is a beautiful vintage very heavily bejeweled, solid silver, real turquoise decorated belt. I knew it was sterling silver. When I looked at the main buckle, it said sterling imprinted into the silver. And I was like, wow, okay. So I said to him, well, this is me talking to Nathan. I said, well, why don't we list it for $2.99? Like, I'm trying to get quick sales here, right? And I knew I hadn't paid a lot for it because I didn't even remember having it. So I said, why don't you throw it in there for $2.99? If it doesn't sell, we can always lower the price. And he's like, are you sure? I said, yep. Anyway, cut to a couple days later, I'm reviewing a whole bunch of the listings that Nathan has put together. And I come to this belt and I'm thinking, you know what? I better do a little bit of research on my own. I don't want to overprice something and have it sit forever, but I also don't want to underprice it if this is a very valuable item, which it sounds like it could be. So I start looking on the eBay solds for this type of Native American concho belt, silver turquoise. And what I'm noticing is I'm seeing the same comps that Nathan saw for $400 to $500, but those ones have, a couple, maybe 3 of the silver sort of buckle. I guess those are the conchos. And mine has a lot, as you can see in the beautiful photo. So I'm thinking, okay, this is probably worth more than I thought, or even Nathan was seeing in those comps. So I do a little digging. I'm seeing some that are more similar to mine, upwards of $1,000, Canadian dollars we're talking about here. So I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what have I got here? And I'm thinking, what do I do with this? So I'm like, okay, I'm sure it is legitimate. I've looked very carefully now at all these sold comps, and I'm seeing the things that sort of distinguish it from being an imitation to show that it's real. And the last step I do is I look up in my spreadsheet. If you've watched me before, and if you haven't, why not? I keep a spreadsheet of every single item I've ever purchased. Where did I purchase it from? How much did I pay for it? And are you ready for this? I got it at the Bins in Tucson, Arizona on my retirement road trip, summer 2024. So when I saw that, I was like, I think I got chills, which I do even when I retell the story. Of course, I knew it was authentic given where I found it and all of the other markings and everything. So I thought, well, what am I going to do here? I thought, you know what? Let's take a flyer. Let's just go for it. I listed it for $799.99. I schedule my listings out in advance. So I was doing the regular 10 per day. So I scheduled it for, I think, a day or 2 in advance and didn't think about it again. Wrapped it up, put it in inventory. So on the day that listing went live, I wake up at, 8:30, something like that in the morning. And zoom, I've already got an offer in my inbox on eBay for $700. I'm like, oh my goodness. But the buyer had some questions. Is it real turquoise? Something about, where was it from? Or is it authentic? There was about 3 or so questions. And I was thinking, I'm laying in bed, looking at my phone, seeing this, and a million thoughts are running through my head. And I'm thinking, okay, I know it's authentic, like based on the research I've done, based on just knowing silver by sight and feel and so on, and the characteristics and so on. So I'm very 99.99% sure that it is authentic, but I don't know the provenance of this item. I bought it in the Bins. I bought it at the thrift. So I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to answer these questions? And of course, as you can appreciate, with a high dollar value item, you need to be very careful. You don't want the buyer to be opening up a case of the item is not as described, or that there's any kind of a problem with the sale, because that can affect your rating on eBay. You could get some negative comments, and so all of this is going through my head. And while I'm thinking about all this and pondering how am I going to reply to these questions to give the buyer confidence and also protect myself as a seller, my phone goes cha-ching, it makes a little like cash register sound whenever I make an eBay sale. If you're a reseller, you'd love that sound, right? And I'm like, oh, something sold. I look, someone swooped in and bought that belt while I was reading these questions for full asking price, $799.99, no questions asked, plus shipping. So this is the story of my biggest, most exciting, epic thrift flip on eBay ever. So let me break down the numbers for you. At the Goodwill Bins in Tucson, Arizona, I paid $1.98 for this item. Yes, $2. And sold it for $800 plus shipping. Now, eBay takes their cut, and their cut is a lot of money on an $800 sale. But after all was said and done, I was left with $647 profit on a $2 pickup. So just because it's hilariously fun, I'm going to give you the percentage. That is just short of 33,000% profit. I mean, it's epic, right? And as I've already said, it sold the same day, literally within an hour of being listed. So I've never had that experience. It was so exciting. And in an upcoming video, I will tell you the mistake I made with regards to this item. So stay tuned for that. Anyway, that was actually 11 items, not 10, because I threw an extra bonus in there at the beginning of the shoes. Anyway, let me give you the totals. So this was all in like about a 60-day period, let's say, of sales. So for all of these 11 items, the amount that I paid to acquire these goods was about $69 for 11 items. Because again, remember I quote paid up for a couple of those items. The selling price was, let me see, just shy of $1,900. Again, the one big one, but really strong sales on the others as well. So that left me with a net profit after all fees, after paying myself back for the cost of the goods and so on, of $1,615. Pretty amazing stuff. So the profit margin on average for this whole video, these 11 items, was about 2,350%. So call it 23x my money. And the average number of days sold, remember some were like same day and some took 60 or 90 days. Average for all of the 11 was about 40 days. So not quite a month and a half. So pretty epic. You can see how there is great money to be made if you have an eye for finding good items, if you are willing to sit on items. In my case, if you're an everything seller, so we had everything from a belt to some kitchen serving knives to leather bags to shoes to, electronics, everything. So the moral of the story is there is money to be made here, but you have to understand the risks as well. The risks are that something won't sell. The risks are that a buyer might not be happy with it. The risks are, it takes time and energy and effort to list all of these things and do it correctly and do it well. You have to store these items. So again, I don't want to paint this unrealistic picture that every sale is like this. But again, some of these items you might be familiar with, some of them you might not be. So if you're a reseller or somebody who's, interested in potentially starting something like this, a couple of things hopefully that you could learn from my own experience. So thank you as always for watching. I think in the next video, I might do another business update. You had a lot of thrifting videos and some travel to Hawaii and stuff like that thrown in over the last several weeks. And that's because I was actually away. My mom had knee replacement surgery and I went to stay at my parents' for 3 weeks across Canada in Ontario to help them out while she was recovering. She came through it like a champ. She's doing amazingly well. It's her second one. She had the other one done exactly a year ago. My sister and her family also flew in for our Canadian Thanksgiving weekend. So just an epic time. All things are wonderful, but I had to get all these videos done in advance because I knew it would be full on when I was visiting my parents. So we're back to normal, back in Calgary, and another business update to come. So as I always say, thank you so much for watching. Wouldn't be here without you. If you have not subscribed to the channel, just tap that little subscribe button. Come on back for some more entertainment and thrifting adventures. And we will see you soon with another one. Bye.